first two breaking news, and former North Melbourne coach Dean Laidley is in custody tonight. Let's go live to our crime reporter, Lana Murphy. Lana, what can you tell us?
Alicia, this is still very much a developing story, but I can reveal that the father of three and former premiership player this afternoon fronted a magistrate in court with multiple charges.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch. And if you wanted a story to captivate the AFL states, this was it. A veteran football star and coach arrested on charges of stalking, and to complete the trifecta, salacious photos of the accused, Dean Laidley, in the cop shop, wearing makeup, a dress and a wig. So no surprise that the photos, which we have blurred, were splashed across the front pages of the Herald Sun and the West Australian in what was clearly a gross invasion of privacy. The photos were taken inside the police station without Laidley's permission by a senior constable and allegedly shared illegally with colleagues before ending up on social media. And while The Age, The Guardian and ABC chose not to run the pictures, there was no restraint from morning TV, including Studio 10, The Today Show and Sunrise.
One is his official police mugshot, the other showing Laidley dressed as a woman appears to have been taken from outside the interview room.
Once again, we have blurred those images, but they did not. And while those three commercial networks did pull back in their evening bulletins, telling viewers...
10 News First has made the decision not to broadcast the images.
It was by then too little, too late. Especially if you'd read the Daily Mail, which recycled the compromising photos across at least 17 different stories about Laidley's downfall. So, was it wrong to humiliate Laidley in this way? Veteran AFL journalist Caroline Wilson had no doubt the answer was yes.
I'm really disappointed that the Herald Sun chose to report on that story the way they did. Really irresponsible reporting, some of that, and I didn't like it at all.
And footy writer Rowan Connolly agreed.
Publishing those pictures obviously guaranteed more views and clicks. It also further jeopardised the mental health not only of Laidley, whose lawyer had requested urgent psychiatric treatment for her client, but his three adult children, and yes, the alleged victim of his stalking.
But not everyone was bashing the tabloids. Studio 10 host Joe Hildebrand, who's also with news.com.au, defended the media's right to publish the photos once they hit social media the night before.
Once it was circulated, or once it was sent to the news desk, I would have to say I would have hit publish 1,000 times.
And AFL player turned broadcaster Sam Newman also came to the Herald Sun's defence.
It's a fine line, but it is definitely in the public interest, isn't it? Every member of the public was interested in those photos.
That's not what in the public interest actually means, but Newman did have another argument.
I would probably have done that, because it's not as though you've bought the photos from someone, they're out there.
And that is certainly true, because when the Herald Sun and West Australian pressed publish, Twitter was already abuzz with the Laidley photos, which is not surprising, given that more than 100 police officers had allegedly been sent them via WhatsApp. But does that justify newspapers and TV showing them too, and adding to his shame, when they could have reported his arrest without the images and prurient details, which for all we know are entirely irrelevant to the alleged crime? Laidley's lawyer Bill Doog told Media Watch,
Dean is certainly very upset with the media. These were photos unlawfully taken in the police station. There is no reason to show the images, and those media are just pandering to unfounded prejudice.
So how does the Herald Sun defend its decision? Editor Sam Weir told us,
the publication of the arrest story and photographs was clearly newsworthy and in the public interest. The story, photographs and accompanying headlines provided a complete and accurate account of the arrest of a high-profile person charged with serious criminal offences, and also a complete and accurate account of the fact there was a police investigation into the leaking of the images. Both were major news stories.
We had a similar response from the editor of the West Australian, Anthony DeSegli, who told us,
pictures of a high-profile public figure such as Dean Laidley being arrested are always going to be in consideration for the front page, no matter what the alleged offender is or isn't wearing.
So, do we buy the argument? Well, if the pictures had been sent directly to the newspaper and known to be illicitly obtained, I don't see how you could justify publishing them. And while they were out in the public domain, which provides an excuse, this was such a breach of Laidley's privacy, we think the media should not have amplified the damage. And we don't buy the public interest argument, which is essentially that readers need to see him on the front page in a dress and a wig. And while we're talking of killer front pages and tabloid headlines, let's go back to last Saturday's Daily Telegraph and take another look at Sherry Markson's now infamous China coronavirus scoop, which ran over 5 pages and kicked off like this.
World exclusive.
China's batty science.
Bombshell dossier lays out the case against the People's Republic.
So why a second look and why the doubts? Well, for starters, who wrote that bombshell dossier? How accurate were the claims it made? Who wanted the Telegraph to have it? And how plausible is it that the deadly coronavirus was made in or escaped from a Chinese lab? And we ask because the dossier's lab claims have been widely criticised, denied and dismissed by intelligence agencies and virus experts, as you can see from the headlines. Some of News Corp's columnists, like Andrew Bolt and Greg Sheridan, have also dismissed the theory. The Telegraph's front page splashed a big picture of the Wuhan Institute of Virology and its director, Shi Zhengli, and told us that she and her fellow scientists were, quote,
the subject of a probe by the Five Eyes intelligence community.
Which is a powerful group of spies from the US, UK, Australia, Canada and New Zealand. The telly also told us the Chinese scientists were accused of destroying evidence of the virus from a Wuhan laboratory and proclaimed in this headline inside,
government dossier claims incurable virus invented at lab with links to Australia.
Markson described the dossier as a 15-page research document and an agency report and said it had been prepared by concerned Western governments. And the world's media duly joined the dots, with the Australian calling it a leaked Five Eyes dossier. And sites in the UK and US, like the Daily Wire, Breitbart, the Daily Express and the Daily Mail, followed suit.
Bombshell, Five Eyes Western intelligence dossier.
The leaked files show the nations have evidence the virus was leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Fox News in the US also claimed the dossier came from the intelligence services of the US, UK, Australia, Canada and New Zealand and invited Markson on. She told Tucker Carlson the dossier's claims were facts, not propaganda. And he praised her for an amazing piece of journalism.
This is the most substantial confirmation of what we suspected that we've had so far. And because it's a multinational effort, I think it would be hard to dismiss it as a political document.
Everyone is taking this very seriously because it's not supported, as you say, by political angles. It's supported by facts. Everything that's contained in this document is factual. But again, in Australia, like in the US, there are, of course, those left-wing sections of the media that don't want to believe that this virus may have leaked from a laboratory. And of course, we don't know that yet. That's being investigated, but they don't want to even think about it.
But it's not just the left-wing media who have challenged it. As we told you last week, Scott Morrison has come down strongly against the lab theory. And since then, Five Eyes intelligence agencies have dismissed it too. And meanwhile, the head of President Trump's coronavirus task force, Dr. Anthony Fauci, has scotched the theory in an interview with National Geographic.
This could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated.
And virus experts like Columbia University's Maureen Miller have queued up to agree.
It's extremely unlikely that this virus originated in the lab.
And as a result, questions are being asked about where the dossier came from and who wanted it published. And suspicion has fallen on the US, where President Trump and his Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, as you may recall, have been busy pointing the finger at China.
Have you seen anything at this point that gives you a high degree of confidence that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was the origin of this virus?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
There's enormous evidence that that's where this began.
So, was the telly's bombshell dossier just pushing this White House line? Last week, the Sydney Morning Herald and The Guardian both claimed the dossier was not prepared by the Five Eyes intelligence group and that it was neither secret nor high-level.
Senior members of the Morrison government and Australian intelligence agencies at first had trouble finding the document. Eventually, they found a research report based on publicly available information, including news reports, which appeared to fit the description. The research paper contained no information that was generated from intelligence gathering, according to people who have read it.
Hardly a bombshell dossier on that analysis. Or on the verdict of one security source who described it to Media Watch as, quote, old, filed away, ignored, discarded, and even complete crap. So, where did it come from? The Herald reported
There are now widespread suspicions within senior ranks of the Australian government and the intelligence community that the document was leaked to the Daily Telegraph by a staff member in the US Embassy in Canberra.
There is no hard evidence for that, and Sherry Markson has certainly not confirmed it, telling the Herald that 2 governments, quote, contributed to the dossier. But she's not said which ones or published it so others may judge. And her scoop has left some outraged. The Herald reported,
Labor MP Anthony Byrne, the Deputy Chair of the influential Intelligence and Security Committee, was incensed by the report of the dossier.
And added that Byrne had told ministers,
Australia shouldn't accept intelligence that doesn't exist and fall for a tricked-up document.
We're told another member of the Intelligence and Security Committee was appalled by the Telegraph's articles. And on Friday, 2 ex-Labor foreign ministers, Gareth Evans and Bob Carr, a regular China defender, joined the condemnation.
It seems the US Embassy gave a confected report to an Australian newspaper inflating baseless claims that the COVID-19 virus was hatched in a Chinese laboratory in Wuhan.
Pushing the Wuhan lab line in defiance of all intelligence assessments is just another nail in the coffin of US international credibility. It's crucial for our own that we don't get further sucked into Trump's political agenda.
And a third ex-Labor foreign minister and ex-PM, Kevin Rudd, then joined the assault, accusing the Murdoch media of a campaign to get Trump re-elected and comparing the Telegraph's China conspiracy to unfounded stories from 2002 about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction. So, what does Sherry Markson have to say to all this barrage of criticism and suggestions she has been used? Typically, she's not backing down. On Thursday, she complained on Twitter about, quote,
the utter hypocrisy of 9 newspapers dedicating resources of 2 senior journalists over at least 2 days to try expose my confidential sources while going to court to protect their own.
And her editor, Ben English, also went on the attack, calling the criticism a politically motivated smear and adding,
journalists, particularly from the left spectrum of political persuasion, are less interested in pursuing the truth than they are in targeting their rivals via spurious and often bizarre conspiracy theories.
Amazing. If the telly has been used to push the White House line and the dossier is as dodgy as Australian intelligence sources claim, that is surely a truth we all need to know. The latest news is that Mike Pompeo has now admitted the Wuhan lab theory might be wrong. He wants an inquiry to determine what happened and to expose China's role in any cover-up. And on that, at least, we can all agree. But now, to 2GB's Ray Hadley, who last Wednesday made a remarkable confession to the Prime Minister.
I want to say one thing to you before we go, OK? Yeah, mate. A few years ago, I had a blue with you, right? And it was a subject of much publicity. I want to apologise because I think... No, I want to say it. I want to apologise.
So, what was Ray sorry about? Well, if this was a quiz, you'd be spoilt for choice. Here's Ray in 2017.
Geez, you're a wanker, Scott. A complete and utter wanker.
And also on the same day...
You're a lily-livered, squibby politician, just a goose.
Or what about this fabulous stunt in 2015 when Hadley ordered Morrison to swear on the Bible that he'd not been part of the plot to bring down Tony Abbott?
Do you understand now that I think you misled me and my listeners on Monday?
Well, I didn't, Ray.
Well, there's a Bible there. Do you want to put your right hand on it and swear on that Bible?
I don't have one, mate. And there's not one here. And I don't see what my faith's got to do with it, Ray.
Well, then it would be easy for people to believe...
Mate, you get to judge my policies.
No, it would be
But you don't get to judge my faith, mate.
No, it would be easier for people to believe you if you were prepared
I don't have to swear on a Bible, mate.
Now, if you answered yes to any of those examples, you would be wrong. Because, turns out, Hadley's not sorry about calling ScoMo a wanker, a coward or a goose. Nope, he's sorry about this dummy spit in April 2017 when Morrison was the Treasurer.
He's lied to me, or his staff have lied to me. I'm not putting up with that rubbish from him. You know, the love affair of the bromance that's been written about, it's over. He wants to dud me, well, he'll get dudded every chance he gets. The regular chat with the Treasurer is now abandoned.
And what was the crime? Morrison had skipped his weekly chat with Hadley to speak with ABC Radio instead. The only problem with the ban, as we all know, is Morrison became Prime Minister 1 year later, leaving Ray on the wrong side of history. And that's another reason why Hadley was offering Morrison more than just an apology as he wrapped up the 20-minute interview.
You'll end up one of our great Prime Ministers. I think you have handled yourself with class, dignity and distinction and a level of energy
I've rarely seen. So accept my sincere apologies. You're a great Prime Minister, and I appreciate your time today.
As far as public growling goes, it is a 5-star effort, and one Morrison politely accepted. That's all from us tonight. There's more on our website, including statements from the Herald Sun and the West Australian. And don't forget, Media Bites every Thursday on your favourite social media platform. But for now, until next week, goodbye.